Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing on this fine April 11th, which would be day 12 of my epic journey? It is day 12 because I started March 31st. So, it's 9:15 a.m. I am leaving Pocatello, Idaho, and according to Google Maps, it's going to take me about 10 or 11 hours to get home to Portland. So this is the final day of this epic journey. Day 12 is the final day. I have some mixed emotions about that. One thing that I forgot to mention in last night's conclusion video is that when I hit the Idaho border, I'm going to be a little bit sappy here, but I wept. I got a little emotional, got a little teary-eyed because I was in Idaho, which meant I was just one step away from returning home, and I was kind of overcome with emotion. And so I wept. I had oh look, Billy was crying. At any rate, I'm filled with a lot of mixed emotions. I'm to the point where, my back has been bothering me because of these long hours driving. So on that end, I'm kind of travel weary, and I'm just about done with traveling. But at the same time, it's like I've loved this adventure so much that I don't want it to end. But all good things do come to an end, and my limited funds will only get me so far. So there's that. I can't keep staying in motels forever. And as packed as this car is, knowing hell that I'm camping it out in here. So, it's been a great journey. It's been a great ride, and I have to thank every one of you that have been watching and, encouraging me and, rooting me on. It's been a pretty cool ride, and I hope that I can do it again sometime in the future. Because again, I think I caught my mom's bug for travel. She tends to travel a lot. Like when she gets that wild hair, she just up and goes, right? And it's nothing for her to, get in the car, drive clear across the country to go see my aunt in Florida. And we had talked about me going to Florida, like when I was done with New Jersey, just go right on down the eastern seaboard and go visit with my aunt. And but I hadn't budgeted for that. I didn't have the funds for that. And those would have been a couple long days, because Mom had factored in that I could have done it in 2 days. I could have got there if I had driven 15 hours one day and 9 hours the next, then or something along those lines. Then I would have got from New Jersey all the way down, but then I have gone through tolls, and I would have seen DC along the way. I would have seen Baltimore probably along the way. I would have stopped and seen Arlington National to pay my respects to President Kennedy, because we're related, and I hate using the word someday, right? Because the things that I've been telling the kids back in Kentucky, all the teenagers at work there at Home Depot, the kind of old man, not so much admonishment, but just old man's perspective of advice. That someday never comes. Someday it's a false reality. If you want something to happen, you want to do something, you want to go somewhere, you make it happen. You don't wait for someday. You don't wait for someday the right conditions are going to fall in place, because I did that my whole life, right? I am the exact reason why someday is a false reality, right? When I was younger, I couldn't wait to be 21 because that's how old you have to be a policeman. So I waited for the someday to turn 21. And then I just wasn't mentally tough enough. I mean, like, I'm a coward by nature. I mean, I am, like, I was never in a lot of fights. I mean, there were some fights I won, there were some, but most of the fights I lost. And a lot of the later fights, like, my friend Stacy, right, he hates it every time I say this, but it is true, is that epic fight that we had in 7th grade. I mean, we fought it out. He kicked my ass, right? And I ran off from that fight just, defeated. I ran off that fight. I was like, instantly, I earned the street cred of being a pussy, right? Sorry for the language, but I mean, that's exactly what happened. Is that, and in a sense, what he did is, any fight I really had in me was gone, because I was beaten, right? And that was one horse I never got back on. Now, while I had been successful in security, I've been a security officer, I've been a security guard. Or essentially, there's really no difference in terminology, other than one just sounds more professional than the other. And the only thing that I can think of why I was successful in that field was because I had God's blessing, right? God really stepped up and he protected me, right? I never had to go hands-on anybody. A couple times I came close. And the one time that I did, I wasn't supposed to put my hands on anybody, but that kid pissed me off, and we were working a prom, and those kids were my niece's age, and it just lit me up that some 20-something, or 20-year-old is hopping the barrier to go mingle with some underage kids, and it made me mad, and I took off toward him. He saw me. He's like, "Oh shit!" Like, here comes the fuzz. And so where it was World Trade Center, Portland. Building 2 is basically, it's the convention center, right? It's a small building. It houses meetings, and there's a courtyard, right? So that courtyard houses weddings. It's a venue for weddings. It's a venue for proms. It's a venue for vendor street markets. We actually had that the year I was there. It was the last year I was there. It was pretty cool. But so there's a brick wall, and it's only about yay tall when you're standing. The guy was on his way over the wall, and I just gave him a shove, pushed him right on over. One of the supervisors came down and says, "Bill, I don't think we're supposed to put our hands on anybody." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, did the camera see it? If the camera didn't see it, I didn't do it. You can tell the boss on me?" Called up to control there. I said, "Hey, Pete, did the camera see anything?" He comes back and says, "Nope." I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm good." And that's when I turned to the supervisor. I'm like, "You gonna tell the boss on me?" He's like, "Well, no harm, no foul." But that's the only time I ever had to put my hands on anybody. And I didn't have to put my hands on him. I just did because, that little wanker pissed me off, and I was just, I was salty enough to do it. So, the whole point of the story is that I was, how old was I? I was in my 30s by that point. But up to that point, I just kept waiting for, I remember my Aunt Judy had said something that at some point, every man comes into his own. Every man comes into his own personal strength. Is what makes him a man. He comes into that. And I always took it to heart, and I always thought, okay, that means that someday I'm going to break this mold of being this weak, meek person, and I'm going to have the temerity and the physical and mental strength to achieve, to pursue and achieve my dream of being a policeman. Because my stepdad was a policeman, and I wanted to follow his footsteps. I mean, for all of Dad's faults, in my eyes, he was a great man. And in my eyes, he was a man that I could never be. Like, I always said that if I could be half the man that my dad was, then I would be all right in life. But those were some awful big shoes to fill. And to be honest, I'm not even half the man he was. That's how I feel. Others have said, you are, but it's like, did you know him? He was definitely an iron fist velvet glove. I hated being disciplined. And I'm loath to say that I cursed the man every time he spanked me. I cursed the man every time he disciplined me. But it's like, the Bible says that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And essentially, you hate your child if you don't discipline them. I said it to my mother one time, and she's like, I must have loved the hell out of you boys. So true. We got a few ass whippings from her, too. Tupperware was a godsend for her. I just had to laugh at her every time, that time when I was 9 years old and she broke 2 wooden spoons over my butt and I laughed at her. She discovered Tupperware doesn't break, and to this day, my brother curses me for laughing at her because she discovered Tupperware. And one of the things that she liked to have was this rolling pin. It had a screw-in cap. Presumably what you do is you put your flour in there. It's, so that you unscrew the cap, you throw your flour down on your work surface, and then, you're rolling your dough. Well, she used to always threaten to fill it with water, throw it in the freezer, and use it as a blunt object if we acted up. My brother, dumbass that he is, swears up and down that my mother actually did that. And I'm like, no, she didn't. Well, you weren't there. Okay, I wasn't there every waking second, but yes, I was. I would have known, had she done it, I would have, it's like, no, she didn't. Think about that, you moron. It would have been a blunt object. You would be dead from blunt force trauma. You idiot. But yeah, she used to, it was hollowed, but it was the hardened plastic, and, one quick tap to the noggin there, and oh man, that hurt like hell. And I was usually the one who got it because, well, he was usually faster out the door than me. Oh yeah, we were always, it was every man for himself at that point when we pissed Mom off. And then we would hide the thing. I mean, I remember one time she's like, hey, have you seen my rolling pin? I'm like, no. And I'm looking right up at the top of the cabinet where it is, and I'm looking right up at it. I'm like, no, I don't know where it is, Mom. She's like, it's up there, isn't it? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, well, I need it. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, well, get it down for me. I'm like, no, I think I'm going to pass on that one. But there's a chair, and I'll see you later. So I left, and I came back later today. She wrapped me upside the head for making, and I wasn't even in any trouble. That's the thing. Is like, she legitimately wanted to use it because she wanted to go, make a pie. Or, something. I don't know. But, I mean, because I had to fight her and I had, been a little shit, she waited till I came home and then wrapped it right upside my head, for making her get up on a ladder and going to get it instead of being a good son and doing her a solid. So, but I'm digressing again. The point is, I waited for someday, right? Going back to what my aunt said. I waited for someday that I would be mentally strong enough. And you know what? That day never came. Still hasn't, right? I mean, I've had random times in my life where, I have been in the right place at the right time, and I did the right thing. There have been times where I've intimidated people, and if they knew the real me, they knew that I'm not, I'm nothing, right? When I did work security, I'd learned how to make myself more imposing and make people think twice about wanting to screw with me. And that's one of the ways that I was successful. And could that have translated into law enforcement? Maybe, but by that point, it was a little too late. I mean, like, look, I'm no spring chicken, and I'm not passing the ORPAT. The last time I was 41, I think, when I tried to pass the ORPAT, I bombed it. I think I missed it by a minute, and they weren't even going to let me finish the agility test because I said that I was feeling a little nauseous. But I could have continued. I mean, I didn't puke, but they're like, "Oh, you're done." Well, and the thing is, like, on the website it said that I could take the ORPAT as many times as I wanted, but they like ushered me right on out the door, and it's like, "Thanks for your money, goodbye." And that kind of dashed it. Well, and at the time I had a cataract, and I didn't know that I had a cataract, but I just, I had to pass the ORPAT before I could go apply to the police department, and that was in St. Helens there. So my someday never happened, and so I had been telling these teenagers that, someday, get the notion of someday out of your head, and just, when you want to do something, don't put off as someday I'll do this, someday I'll get there, someday, the conditions will be just right, the stars will line up and everything will fall into place, because that doesn't happen. So this almost 20 minutes of monologuing to get to that point is someday never happens. If you want to do something, if you want to, be ... go and do it. Go knock out all those prerequisites. Go get all the training. Go get all the soak up all the information you can. And that's the best advice I could ever give to anybody. The thing with life is that you never stop learning, right? And the moment you think that you have nothing else to learn in this life, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, because then the rest of your life is just going to be stagnant, right? Or that's the end of your life. Because, let's be honest, the day we stop learning is the day that we die. Morbid, I know, but it's true. We are constantly learning. We are learning from the moment that we were born, and we continue to learn right up until the day we die. So make the best of it. Take advantage of it. Learn all you can. See all you can. See the world. And I tell people, it's like for instance, back in Litchfield, when I was working at Plasticon, there was a girl there that I worked with, Cheyenne. Pretty girl. Such a sweetheart. She said that she had been such a homebody there of Grayson County. She'd never left Grayson County. She never had any desire to leave Grayson County. She, seeing the outside world, seeing, she'd been to the Monmouth Caves, but historical landmarks across the nation, across the globe, obviously. She has no desire. She's such a homebody there. She's like, I was born in this county and I'm going to die in this county, and I'm not going anywhere else. I'm just a homebody. And for someone who just turned 25, I find that sad, because there's such a huge world out there to explore, and it's and it's not all bad, right? This is such a beautiful world, right? And going to explore it gives us a better appreciation for it. Going to explore it, gives us that innate drive to be better people, to be better stewards of this planet. And mind you, I'm no Greenpeace, rights activist or some PETA animal rights activist or like, Sierra Club type that's, all about, saving the earth and blah, 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 blah. I think it's important that we don't, wipe out whole ecologies and cause flora, fauna, and animal life to go into extinction. But at the same time, I'm just not, I'm just not that person that says, we need to halt our way of life so that, I don't know, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't hold animal life, plant life, more important than my own life. I know that sounds horribly arrogant. Sorry, but it's like, I honestly believe that we were put on this earth to be stewards of this planet, right? So, while I'm not super into conservation, I do recognize that we do need to do our part in keeping our environment as clean as possible. We do need to take care of this earth as best as we can. That we do need to safeguard, not putting toxins into the earth. Keeping this planet beautiful so that the future generations can enjoy what we're enjoying now. I'm looking out here and I'm like, this is God's country here, and it would be a shame to do something so catastrophic that would just ruin it, right? And that's what I'm saying is like, I wouldn't want to ruin this. When necessary, yeah, we have to build for, human habitation. When necessary, we should also restore what we've destroyed. Like in Oregon, we're a timber state, right? So, like for every tree we cut down, we replant like, I want to say like 3, and that's how we keep our renewable resource of timber going, right? They'll clear cut an area, they basically just decimate it, and then they replant that area with, in theory, 3 times as much as what they took out, and then they don't touch it for a quarter century, 25, 30 years, maybe even 50, they just, it's like Ron Popeil, man, set it and forget it. Yeah, that's the stuff I can get behind. That's the stuff we should be doing, right? And Oregon's been doing that long before the activists had demanded laws that stated as such. We were doing timber conservation as early as the 1930s, I think. And that was long before laws were put on the books in the 80s and 90s, right? So, we've been doing it for a while. It's like, let's pass a law requiring the industry to do what it's been doing for 60 years already. Doesn't make any sense to me, but okay, whatever. Anyway, wow, I can really talk. So, this is the first video of day 12. I stayed in a Super 8 motel there in Pocatello. Pocatello is a nice city. I wouldn't mind coming back this way again. Not going to say someday, but if I ever come back this way, I was telling the clerk as I left, absolutely, I'll definitely keep in mind to go back to that motel. I actually got up early enough to eat breakfast, and I'm not usually a breakfast kind of guy, but I had me 2 waffles. I had some apple juice. I had a bottle of water, just like this. I had a bowl of cereal, and I had a cup of apple juice and some yogurt, some peach yogurt. So, I've started today off on a good note. Made sure to leave the hotel motels, excuse me, by 9:15, because in theory, barring any complications getting through the Blue Mountains, I should, and I don't foam at the mouth and jibber jabber with random people. I should make it to Portland by 7, 8 o'clock tonight sometime ish, somewhere in there. There'll be more videos to follow, of course, because I mean I'm just starting my day and I'm getting down the road. But the next video, absolutely, as promised, the next video is going to be Eden, Idaho, because I'm going to go to that truck stop and I'm going to show you that that serpent statue that they put in there, and they kind of made it into a tourist trap, but it's so cool. Like I'm not advocating that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was cool by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a nice play on words, because they're Eden, Idaho, and what better way to draw in tourism than to have a play on words and make this Garden of Eden thing. I liked it. I thought it was kind of cool. I was really impressed with the craftsmanship and the artwork. So that was pretty cool. So I'm going to end this now, and as I'm just, I'm filled with mixed emotions, because it's like I said, I'm riding high from this epic journey, but I'm saddened that it's coming to an end in less than a day. So, but I'm gonna keep on keeping on. I was gonna sing the Jerry Reed song, Eastbound and Down, but I'm westbound. Anyway, so do take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Thank you for joining me on this epic adventure. I appreciate every one of you. I appreciate every one of you for your thoughts, your prayers, and your encouragements, and you're rooting me on, and all that other good stuff. So happy trails. I'll talk to you soon.